Sure. So today council approved two different engineering contracts. So back in November, we did discover there's a culvert that we know that runs along Elm Street here in the downtown area. We did find a partial collapse on that culvert, and we immediately moved with staff and a contractor to shore that up and provide protection for that culvert. But as part of that is we do need a permanent solution. And also there was a portion of an existing building that had a column and part of its slab undermined from erosion because of that collapse in water and the drainage. And so today there were two different contracts that we approved. One is to evaluate that building, to take a look at the column and the slab and what needs to be done to fix that and shore that up and provide a safer condition for that and permanent protection. And then also the culvert. Ultimately, what do we need to do to improve that? It's an older structure, at least 100 years old or more. We do our best to maintain it, but sometimes we do have to replace things and repair things. And so we're going to be evaluating what are our options to improve that culvert going forward.
Which building is this?
So this is building located at 111 and 115 East Elm Street, there on Broadway and Elm.
In the meeting, you talked about needing to isolate the failure of the slab. How are you planning on doing that?
Sure. So one of the contracts with a company called IMEG Consulting, they're a structural engineer, and so they'll be able to go in and evaluate this building, look at the elevations of the building, and then be able to see how it's constructed and know what are the impacts of that specific column and with that washout that happened in the slab, and make sure that we're focusing specifically on that was associated with the drainage structure. And then the second piece is just we're going to look at that entire drainage structure. How much water do we actually come in through here? Do we need to upsize? Is it okay? And that gives us direction on how do we either repair, rebuild, or potentially reroute. And so we want to look at what's the most cost-effective solutions for the city to move forward and to provide the drainage that we need in the downtown area.
What's the timeline on that?
Sure. So two different timelines because we got two different contracts. With the building evaluation and the foundation, we're looking at initially 4 weeks to kind of take a quick look and get an idea before we pause and see where we go from that. The drainage piece is a little bit longer, so we're looking at potential 6 months to identify the drainage needs and what are those alternatives. And then from there, we'll decide how do we move forward with projects. It is not. So these are buildings that are owned by the Bethel Bible Church that are there on Elm Street.
So just to be clear, around $290,000 was approved by the council today.
Sure. So we had two different contracts again. The first one with IMEG Consulting Group at around $148,000. And again, there's some protections built in that and how do we step through on that contract and evaluation. And then a second contract with HDR, which is around $141,000, and that's for the drainage analysis.
Why do you need two different contractors?
Yeah, so it's really two different items. Is one, you're looking at the building specifically, and so there's some expertise from a building and structural standpoint that we wanted for that contract. And the second one is specific to the drainage structure and the water, and how do we address that, and so the expertise that we looked at with that contractor, consultant.
Can this have any effect on the downtown construction, or is it totally different, separated from it?
Yeah, so this specific piece is really isolated from any of the downtown improvement project. We do have additional construction happening on Elm Street that's associated with the Tyler Water Utilities consent decree, but again, this piece of the puzzle is isolated from that. So just a lot happening in downtown. It's a lot of older infrastructure, and so that's where we're trying to address it as we can.
In the meeting you mentioned for the first contract, this is the most cost-effective solution. Can you kind of go into how that cost-effectiveness kind of got evaluated?
So we're going to look to find the most cost-effective. So really, we with the situation, we want to make sure and analyze what are our options and how do we move forward in the most cost-effective way.
And this is going to outside vendors?
So these are outside engineering consultants that will be completing these designs and evaluations.
Should residents be concerned about anything? You might have mentioned this, but any future structural issues near that area?
No, so I think go to back in November is when we identified and found out about the collapse, and we moved very quickly to get a contractor on to shore that up. We did put some shoring inside that structure, installed some steel plates to provide any further erosion, provide protection, and we've had conversations with the building owners to make sure they're aware of the situation, and so we're doing those steps to make sure, provide that protection, and that ultimately the outcome is, hey, how does this structure need to work for the next 100 years, and what's the solution to do that?
While this structure is being evaluated, how are y'all letting the residents know about that, or business owners that are around in the area?
Yeah, so again, specifically with the 111 and 115 East Elm, we've continued to have conversations with those property owners to make sure they're aware and they're part of the solution.
And that street's shut, that part of the street's shut down anyway, right now.
Currently, yes, correct. Currently, that portion of East Elm is shut down associated with that consent decree sanitary sewer capacity improvement project. And so there is no traffic in that area. But again, we do not see that as a, once it opens back up, that being a concern at this time.
Are there any meetings in the future with business owners to kind of keep them updated with this?
Well, we'll definitely continue to have those conversations and meetings with those specific property owners as we move forward and we find kind of these solutions, absolutely.